It's time to rethink, renew, and reimagine retirement. Welcome to Retire Repurposed. This podcast is dedicated to help people transition into fulfilling and purposeful retirements. Retirement is a big life change. In fact, the two most dangerous years of a person's life are the year they were born and the year they retire. We believe that retirement is not the end, rather the beginning of what could be the most impactful season of a person's life. So don't retire, become repurposed. Well, I'm your host, Jared Sebesta. I'm the co-founder of Retire Repurposed alongside Ben Tejas. Thank you so much for joining us today. Maybe you're listening to us on the radio. Maybe you found us online. Regardless, head over to iTunes, find our podcast, and click subscribe. Better yet, leave us a quick positive rating and review. If you would just take a moment to do that, we would appreciate that so much. Now, this podcast is all about retirement, but it's not about money. It's about the non-financial parts of retirement, which many times can be even more challenging than the financial. Few people can just flip the switch from working a career 30, 40 plus years and then shutting it off on Retirement Friday without methodical steps to living what we call a repurposed retirement. If you want more for your life and your retirement, then you have come to the right place. Well, on this episode, we continue our series on retirement personality types. There's no one-size-fits-all equation for a great life and a great retirement. Everyone has been created differently and owns a unique set of life experiences. Today, we take a deep dive look at the Golden Retriever. Golden Retrievers are caring, loyal, and love helping people. Furthermore, they fear change but embrace security. In this podcast, Ben explains how, if done incorrectly, retirement can lead a Golden Retriever into isolation. However, retirement can be the gateway to deep relationships that Golden Retrievers desire. Enjoy this episode. All right, folks, we are back and we are continuing our series on retirement personalities. We've got a great show on tap here today. We're going to talk about the fourth personality type, the Golden Retriever, and this is going to connect with a lot of you listening, so this is going to be a phenomenal show. Just a reminder off the top of the show here today, we've got a Facebook group called Becoming Repurposed in Retirement. Join a growing community of people that refuse to accept the typical American dream retirement. Look for more tips on living repurposed, Facebook Lives, Q&A sessions. Just go to facebook.com and search Becoming Repurposed in Retirement. Click join to be a part of this community of people ready to make their retirement everything it was supposed to be. Ben Tejas joins me on the show here today, and this is an important thing to do, to join this Facebook group, because that's where we've got links, that's where we've got content to push people to where they can find ways to take the test, but also continuing education on kind of what this means for retirees.
Yeah, this personality profile, just part of it, right? It's just one thing that we're pushing people there to get. But yeah, we're going to continue putting content on there. I know you've been doing a lot of Facebook Lives.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to be in community with people going through what you're going through. So as a retiree, we can talk about this, Jared. We've seen it. Like I've walked with retirees for 20 years now in going through that stage of life.
Yeah.
And I've seen it all, but I think hearing it from other people who are going through it right now is really, really valuable. So that Facebook group can be a place where you can connect with other people that are retiring, ask questions of them, us, and just make it a great way to continue the community that your work gave you.
You can find us at retirerepurpose.com. But again, if you want that community to connect with other retirees that are on the same journey, again, go to facebook.com and join the group, Becoming Repurposed in Retirement. So this whole series started because we wanted to get more specific and do some research on retirement personality types. We chose the 4 animal personality type test. The reason why we did that is because it's a very simplistic test. It's easy to take. It only takes about a minute or two to actually take the test and understand which animal you are. By the way, we've got links on the Facebook page for you to go there right now and take the test. Ben, there's a lion, an otter, a beaver, and again, we're going to cover the Golden Retriever in depth here today, but let's just do a quick review of these first 3 personality types.
Yeah, and even before I do that, remember, if you're listening today, you're not going to be all one or the other. There's going to be pieces of each of them. I think that's probably, while it's simple, like you were saying, Jared, I think the downfall protocol to this particular test is that, you're not all encompassed in just one of these areas, right? You're going to see different parts. I think a lot of people can relate with a couple of these animals. So starting off with the lion, remember, their mindset is they're the ones that, always have big projects, big vision. They want to, again, maybe conquer the world. They want to do big things, right?
Yep.
The otter, I think the otter, think about an otter out in the wild, right? Is moving around a lot. It's like you think about them having fun, swimming around in the water. They love a new adventure, right? And that's part of their retirement story, certainly. And then last week was the beaver. The beaver, think of somebody that's very organized, somebody that likes to actually get a lot of work done, right? You think about a beaver out in the wild, they're building their dam and they're busy. They're always busy, and many times, sometimes in fact, don't even take time to rest, to take the leisure of retirement. So those are a couple little quick hitters for those of you that have been listening. But if you haven't, go back and listen to those full shows.
Listen to those shows. Make sure you take the test. And Ben, just to know this too, and you know this, when you take the test, you're going to get what animal you are, but you're also going to get kind of the secondary animal. So at times, maybe under adversity or certain stresses, you're going to kind of behave a little bit more like a secondary type as well. And I think that helps bridge the gap to say this is predominantly who I am, but kind of my secondary personality type kind of defaults over here.
Yeah, I think we've talked about the other profiles. DISC profile, for example. I know I'm high on a D and a I, so we go through those, similar with this, right? Or the Enneagram, right? That personality profile, if you've ever worked through that, typically you'll find here's where I am, where I'm comfortable. I'm this number,
right.
But when I'm under stress, I tend to look more like this. So you can kind of see some of that with this test. But again, we went with this one because we want something simple. We want some people can just go take the test and relate to right away.
It's good to know kind of where you stand and how you view life. But it's really good because it can give you a lot of information on how retirement's going to throw you a real curveball. Let's talk about this just for a second. Ben, you're a lion. Let's talk about the lions. They want to conquer things. Chances are lions have been, owning businesses, leading teams, being project managers, looking at the big picture and always having a big thing to conquer. I mean, right off the bat, it doesn't take a genius to figure out this is going to pose a problem if you go into retirement, don't have a lot to do.
Well, certainly, Jared, if you are looking at retirement and what retirement should be through the lens of what the world says, right? The world's probably going to say, okay, you are now to whatever age, let's say 65, and that is of quote unquote retirement age. So by the way, now you can move out of the job you were doing and move into nothingness. I mean, and I'm going to say nothingness in that you're not creating value at work. Right? You're saying now it's all about leisure. Now it's all about time to enjoy. You've worked so hard, enjoy it. Many of us lions really struggle with taking time to enjoy something. In fact, that's one of the toughest things for me, even on vacation, is it's hard to get in that mindset of, okay, it's okay to relax. I've earned this. And I've worked really hard, so now I can take a rest. If you're a lion, you're coming to retirement, it is a huge, huge curveball because you're not used to sitting still. And I'm not even saying you should be, right? Hear that too. If you're a lion, you're listening as well. Go against what the world says. The world might say, yeah, you're no longer, you can't be part of this company. It's time to retire, move out. Well, in reality, we think some of those folks that are lions retiring today are more valuable to both their company, their family, and their communities than they've ever been before because they've built up generations of knowledge. They've dealt with so many scenarios, and in my mind, not the world's, but I'm gonna say you're probably at the peak of being able to add value to others.
Yeah, again, if a lion views retirement as the next thing to conquer, man, it could be a huge miss if not done correctly, but also a spectacular finish to this final season. So again, we have to know those things. The otter, they look at life as an adventure. They're emotional. Again, retirement can be a huge curveball for them. The beaver you mentioned, they need to stay busy. So again, we always talk about the typical American dream retirement, which says I turn 65 and now I get to do, I have now the freedom to do nothing, and the more nothing I do, the more I'm winning. We have to know the right definition of retirement. We have to understand the way God wants us to use this phase of life, and then understand who we are and how we can best apply those things.
Yeah, every single one of those personality types and the golden retriever we're going to cover today, can and can do exceptionally well
Right.
in retirement as long as they understand who they are and they continue to connect to a cause greater than themselves. The problem with the American dream retirement is it is very selfish, right? A lion is going to go out there and say, well, now you're done with work, so just enjoy it.
Right.
Spend all your money and just go travel. Well, that only keeps you fulfilled so long. It's about making sure that we keep a cause greater than ourselves.
So once you take the test, find out what animal you are, here's the next thing. Email me at jared@retirerepurpose.com. And again, you spell my first name, JERRID, at retirerepurpose.com, and put what animal type you are in the subject line. And I'm going to send you all the literature on all the research we've done, because we're only covering a little bit of that on the shows. And I've had lots of people already email me. I've sent those out, and we send it right to your inbox, no questions asked. So again, make sure you're getting all the information that we've kind of conglomerated here with our research on retirees and these animal personality types. So today, Ben, let's talk about the golden retriever. And typically every show we just kind of start off with kind of a 30,000 foot view of what are golden retrievers like.
So again, think of the animal, okay, a golden retriever, that a very loyal companion, right? That's where I would start, as being a very naturally like a patient person, a stable consistency, empathetic, compassionate, very, very loyal. Again, I think of a golden retriever as a very loyal animal. It's certainly agreeable, supportive, and dependable.
Yeah, a good friend. And by the way, a shout out to the people who created this animal type, because they really nailed it with the animals. But I do, not maybe a puppy golden retriever, but yeah, my neighbor across the road has a kind of a veteran aged golden retriever, and that's exactly what they are. They're very calm, soothing, friendly, compassionate, can almost sense, a really, really good dog can sense when you're off. And that's right in tune with this type of person.
Yeah, I mean, I would put a golden retriever or a red British lab, kind of similar dog types, right? That's what I have.
You're biased.
A little dog named Butterscotch. My daughter's named it, of course, which makes for an interesting name while hunting. But she's a great dog, and she understands when somebody comes over and they're, if they're not feeling well. One of my daughters has an illness. That dog will curl up and sit down near their feet because they know there's something off. And I think that, again, that loyal, dependable, supportive person really can relate with that animal type of a golden retriever.
Their disposition can be a little bit more slow paced, but definitely people oriented. But this is the big one with golden retrievers, and we're going to talk a lot about this on today's show. They are people focused. Certainly, it's people focused over task, which is the opposite probably a lot of the other three, if not all the other three.
Yeah, certainly opposite of a lion, right? That's right. I mean, I can resonate with that, where I'm putting the task first, and here a golden retriever and say, no, it's people first, and that's what I love about these animal types, is they can both work together so well.
Yeah. One of the biggest needs they have is that they need security, but with that, and again, we're going to talk about this in length here in the next several minutes, they can tend to be maybe a little bit too slow-paced. That can lead to indecisiveness and maybe just be a little bit slow to make decisions. Would that be a fair statement?
Yeah, I think so. And even fearing change to some extent is because of their personality type, like not want to have change, and slow to initiate, kind of avoiding confrontation.
Yeah,
at times, even when it's needed, because there's times when confrontation is important. So again, they're the animal type and the personality where they want everybody around them to feel safe, included, and valued.
Yeah.
What a great thing to have on your team or person that you can do life with.
Yeah, 100%. Again, it's relationship over everything else, and that is one thing. That's a very specific characteristic of this personality type. To them, people are everything. Their loyalty is invested in their family, their friends, and their workers. And again, we're setting ourselves up here with the conversation here where they're going to struggle, but their work relationships, their relationship with work, they're probably really, really good employees in a lot of ways, because they will put that relationship above everything else in their life. But this, again, is going to be it may kind of go against them in a lot of ways or hurt them in a lot of ways, because their ability to make decisions and be maybe a little bit too slow on the draw, this is where that can kind of come into play as well.
Yeah, Jared, I think if I can summarize the Golden Retriever, they're incredibly loyal, and they believe no matter what's going on, if it's good times, challenging, as long as we're together and we're doing this as a group and we're together,
right,
everything's going to be okay.
Again, it's such the opposite of the lion. The otter and the beavers, they're very, again, task driven. And we've talked about this on the show. I'm an otter, and it drives some people in my family a little bit crazy because sometimes when I get home from work, there's things to do. And sometimes, one of my kids says, Daddy, look at this and look at what I made. And I have to very, very consciously stop what I'm doing and give whoever it is, whether it's my wife or somebody, that full attention. To a golden retriever, that's their default, and I just find it so interesting how differently wired everybody can be. All right, so let's turn the corner here and talk about retirement. Again, one thing that when it comes to golden retrievers, they just need security. So the way that they view retirement is going to be a little bit scary.
And part of security, Jared, for a golden retriever is consistency. So if you've been consistent in your work for 30, 40 years,
right,
retirement can be a very scary thing because there are a lot of unknowns. So for a golden retriever walking into retirement, consistency is very, very important.
Yeah, I think having some friends along for the ride as well. I think if you're a golden retriever, you're listening to this, you're retired or approaching retirement, that's where this element of friends, which by the way is a huge part of Repurpose University, where we talk about your relational biosphere. Friends is such an important piece of this equation. But I'm not an expert here in personality types, but I would say that the friends are certainly probably one of the highest orders of importance to a golden retriever than maybe any other personality type.
Yeah, I would agree. I think when you're talking about a golden retriever, it becomes there's this loyalty thing. Again, they want to be loyal to someone. They want to have, I would say, few close friends, right? And your work has created that. Naturally, you've become very close to very few people while at work.
Right.
So you need to make sure you're replacing that in retirement.
Talk about what can happen to a golden retriever if they don't have this security, they don't have the relational support. They tend to kind of slip into the darkness, so to speak. Talk about that for a second.
Well, I think one of the scariest things for any retiree is isolation. We know for people, you have to be in community. That's how we were created. God made us to be in community with others. He didn't just create Adam and stop there. So we know it's important for us to be with others. So if I look at somebody who's wired even more so than anybody else to be with people, it is very, very important. What can happen is if you kind of start to get, a little more isolated, you can kind of slip away and just kind of exist again on your own and probably be okay with that for a while.
Right. Well, I think you're setting the stage for, some problems down the road. I don't think it would happen quickly, but I can almost kind of envision somebody getting a little bit, or their momentum, maybe their tenacity for life starts to slow down a little bit. And over time, they become, I hate to say it, maybe a little bit depressed because the kind of the mentality or the way that they're wired, or their frequency is a little bit slower pace than certainly an otter or a beaver, maybe even a lion. So that's why that particular aspect of retirement is so dangerous.
Yeah, and anxiety and depression are linked hand in hand. They really are. I mean, I've studied this and read books on this, but I know that anxiety and depression are very closely related. So if you're walking away from the workplace and you're both, you need people in your life and you're starting to feel anxious because of all the change, and you're one of these types of people, be very careful. See somebody, talk to somebody, because the next step could be depression if you fall out into isolation.
They just need to know that things are going to be okay, but with that, they're very methodical in how they think. They're not going to go into anything, real quickly. But that also poses a problem when it comes to retirement too.
Well, for sure. I think planning, both financial and life planning, becomes very, very important for a golden retriever. So with the guidance and planning to kind of hold back their anxiety, to just see, hey, we are going to be okay, is really, I think, the most important thing.
Well, you mentioned too, maybe reaching out for some help too, because I do think that is an important piece. If you think that you're a golden retriever, or you've taken the test and you are a golden retriever, and you're looking at retirement as something that is scary, Again, it's kind of that gentle spirit. That's kind of more of the phrase I was looking for. They have a gentle spirit, so they need a little bit of, I wouldn't say coaxing, but guidance through there, because if not, you end up sitting on it for a while. And if you sit on it, that almost adds to the, I don't want to say like methodical nature in which they're already wired. And pretty soon now, not making a decision to retire or what to do next, you've made a decision. And we find that on other aspects of life too. We think that not making a decision is not making a decision. The truth is it is. So they need to maybe have a little help, kind of getting off the fence and saying, now it's time to go or change directions.
Exactly. And if they can see and get time, right, they're going to need more time to make that decision. But if they can see with a plan, like, here's what your life can look like in retirement, here's the things we're going to watch out for, maybe it'll get you to take that step.
So another aspect of personality types that we talk about each show is the view of leisure. This one is probably different than the other three for the Golden Retriever.
Yeah, I think leisure is a little bit easier for a Golden Retriever. And I think for specifically, a retiring Golden Retriever, they desire just doing life and being a person who isn't lazy. Don't hear this as somebody, oh, they're lazy. Mm-hmm. But they're able to, when the work is done, enjoy it and put time in their life for leisure.
Yeah, as an otter, an otter who is kind of close to a beaver. Ben, you're a lion. I would say that rest is difficult. We've mentioned that on previous shows. Like, we have to almost be forced to rest. Beavers will look at rest as being lazy. Otters just are high energy. They're wired a little bit higher frequency like me, and so we have a hard time with this. But as an otter, I would almost I wish I could have that ability to shut it off. And so when the work is done, the work is done. But again, it's knowing who you are, it's knowing how you're wired, and then doubling down on that. So again, leisure can be such an important part of retirement, not to steer you towards isolation and depression, but steer you in the right direction.
Yeah, and leisure for somebody in retirement can be an extremely powerful thing. It isn't just going off by yourself and golfing. Mm-hmm. If you're a Golden Retriever, you certainly see leisure as really, it's a doorway into making deeper relationships with people around you. So you're going to see leisure as, hey, I'm going to go out and go golfing. Not even because I like golf that much, but because I get to hang out with the guys. We're going to go fishing, and we're going to go together. We're going to do a weekend together with the ladies. We're going to drive somewhere and hang out. So there's so many things there that a Golden Retriever can get from that time of leisure, but the most important item is that they can really reestablish connection with a different group of people. Yeah. They've worked for 20, 30 years, whatever that might be, and they have those relationships. Those relationships are probably way different, if not done, when you retire. And as you reestablish them, you can make sure to get that new bond and become more loyal to an entirely different group.
When a lion retires, they want a whole nother area of life to conquer. Otters need another new adventure. Beavers need to just get work done. I would say, from my aspect being an otter, Ben, you being a lion, we don't have a beaver on the show here to give their opinion, but you're going to want Golden Retrievers in your life. I think it's really important that Golden Retrievers can play a really important role in the other personality types. And that I think that's good for people to hear. If you're a Golden Retriever yourself, or maybe your spouse is, and he or she is retiring, know that they can play a very integral part in you having a great retirement as well, because they're the ones that can really put that soft relational coating on life.
Yeah, they're so important in all of life, right? All of these personality types, whether you're a lion, an otter, a beaver, or the Golden Retriever, if you can look to the other animal types, right, the other personality types in your life, and figure out how you can make their life better, now you're on to what could be a great retirement.
Well, I sure hope you enjoyed this conversation on the Golden Retriever personality type. Just a reminder, to find out which animal you are, take the free test by going to our Facebook page, Becoming Repurposed in Retirement. Once you join, you're going to see a link right at the top of the page to take the 4-animal personality test. And once you get your results, email me at jared@retirerepurpose.com and put in the subject line what animal type you are, and I'll send you all of our research totally free. Until next time, I'm Jared Sebesta. Remember, don't retire, become repurposed. We'll see you then.
Securities offered through Avantax Investment Services. Member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Avantax Advisory Services. Insurance services offered through an Avantax affiliated insurance agency.